G'day, welcome to Mark and Sam After Work. Today I want to do an overview on this little rifle scope. It's the NX8, second focal plane, MOA in 4 to 32. I suppose I'll start with the NX8 is referring to its power multiplication. So this one going from 4 to 32. So very big power range. And I suppose in the nutshell means that makes it a little more versatile, able to do more things. So the hunting and precision shooting, ELR is all inside this thing, but really coming back to the hunting or fast action sort of stuff where you want a wider field view and low power, and you still want to be able to go to the precision stuff where you can take the power up. I got the first focal plane across. It was nice. I liked the quality. I liked how it functioned, all that sort of stuff. That was a lower power option. But it's, I suppose, suffered from the same thing that all of these high power range scopes come from in first focal plane. And that is because your first focal plane reticle shrinks as you back the power off and raises and gets bigger as you take the power up, means that ultimately with a big power range you end up with either a reticle that's too fine when you're at low power, or it's too thick when you're at high power, or both, or a compromise of both. So, and listen, different companies do it different ways. Which end they focus on is a different thing. But for me, because I don't use a reticle in the way of using it for wind holds, I don't use a reticle for ranging. Although you can with a second focal plane, it's harder. I don't. I do it in different ways. That means for me, the second focal plane's a winner, especially in something set up like this. If you look at the vision, I'll run some vision of what I'm doing while I'm talking. If you look at the vision, that's a fine reticle, but it's not too fine, and it stays that same size all the time. So for people who want to work out all their holds and bits and pieces, range things and that sort of stuff, there's some more mass involved for sure. But for people who really want to be able to come back and use that minimum power and do the hunting side of things, well, that reticle is not in your road, as you can see, and you've got very good field of view, you've got really nice glass, it's working well on that sort of score, so you can do that without any problems. And for the same folks who want to then go in and zoom right in for whether that's precision shooting in whatever form, that reticle doesn't get bigger, so it doesn't get in your face. So for me, the second focal plane is sort of the winner in this little combination. And I'll get into the rest of the scope. It is, I suppose, my first overview bit of it in using it, and I have used it a bit. I've done a few shoots with this scope. Is it feels very familiar. It feels very much like the Attacker. It feels very much like a tier 1 level scope in the NIGHTFORCE range. And I suppose, I'd have to qualify the fact that I use them a lot. I'm very familiar with them. I like them. So there's a little bit of that coming out in what I'm going to tell you, but still good quality without any question. It's a 30mm tube. It's a 50mm objective. Is features that are, it doesn't have quite the same, it's quite as much as the big ones, but I haven't seen that cause many issues. A feature that it doesn't have, which would mean it doesn't fit tier 1 for me either, is it only has 90 minutes of elevation, and you've got a big cap here on the side, but your windage turret is actually a small turret. So not that that changed anything. I'd prefer it to be a big one as well and not have the cap. But for guys who do want to set and forget, it has that feature. You put that cap on, just use wind holds, which a lot of people like to do, and perfect. And it looks the part, everything fits in nicely. All the dials, the controls, the parallax is nice and firm without being too firm. Same for your power settings. It has, which I prefer, truthfully, this is a little lock nut in the back here, which you undo that, and then you've got a fine setting to get your focus just right. I prefer the lock-up side of things. I set and want to leave it. I don't want to mess with it all the time. And by having your lock nut there means that bumping it and that sort of stuff isn't a problem. So I prefer that, but that's a personal thing. I suppose really in the breakdown of it all, I think it's a good option. For the ELR side of things, only 90 minutes of elevation wouldn't do it. The way I'm using it, I'm getting around that quite nicely. These, by the way, this is the dress stuff. I run a bubble level on it around the sunshade and caps and things, so it looks a bit more like a big dog when you've got all the stuff on it. I run it like I do most of my things in an air attack base. You can get them in the 30mm. This lets me set it up on whatever, but really if I set this up properly where I've got it on probably on a 40 MOA scope, what am I talking about? The scope rail. I can plonk this on and that gives me another 70 minutes. So this little combination with this fella and that gives me 160 minutes of elevation, which is pretty good stuff. It ranges up to doing a lot of the long shots where this is going to be capable of it. And yes, it does have the optical clarity to do that sort of stuff. Equally for guys just wanting a precision scope to use, so that's in your, whether you're shooting at 100 yards or 600 yards or 1,000 yards, this has got it all covered without any problems. And really for most decent rifles, you're going to be getting close to going out up to the mile. And having that 32 power really is the other place that would work really well is your 100-yard group shooting. Be able to get up to that sort of power gives it a feature that stands above, you know, even the likes of the NIGHTFORCE Attacker, which does fine, but at only 25 power, this has actually got a bit more in it. So I suppose for me, I tend to use the 15 to 20 power, but I would say when you've got it there, you tend to find yourself using the more power without causing yourself any problems and maybe giving yourself some little advantages. It does have a illuminated reticle. I don't tend to use them either with the way I do my job, but it is all in there, so it really does have all the features, and for someone on a bit less than a tier 1 budget, it's still a quality option and has a quality price tag to go with it. And I won't get into the prices, they'll be different all over the world, but it really is a scope that does that in the set up properly. You're going to be able to get it. As I suppose the main thing I would say about it is its versatility. Having that really low power and really high power means it really could be an all-rounder and do that job very well. Anyway guys, that's my overview on the scope. I think it's a good option for some people. It's going to fit really nicely, hence I wanted to get one. I'll use it on the channel. You'll see it used on the channel a little bit. It certainly is a scope that I think is worth putting a thought to. Anyway guys, that's my video on this one. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you next time.